About 1 year ago, Hypergriff released the Arknights event Design of Strife, in which we face Fared Smelter, Guardian Ember of the King. This guy was not an easy fight. Provided buffs for the Doctor to use were not incentivized. Instead, they would reduce your overall score when using them. Therefore, they wanted Doctors to beat the stages without buffs to get the best score. On top of that, all the enemies were crazy buffed with immense health pools, lots of defense, and wild resistance. There also didn't used to be elemental damage, which nowadays is great at dealing with enemies who have high resistances. There were also different difficulties for each stage, which would further buff the enemies and make you and your operators' work more painful. As you might be able to tell, Design of Strife was rough, to say the least. During Design of Strife, I had to watch some guide videos in order to complete the stage, because I had decided I'd spent enough time trying to figure it out myself. At this point in time, I was unaware of the incredible help debuffers provided for dealing with tough enemies. I wasn't a user of supporters really, nor the support skill types like Suria's S3. With Design of Strife though, I came to realize just how broken the debuffing supporters and similar skills were. From then on, I started building up more supporters and got more into the niche side of operators. Now we move ahead 1 year to today. As an endgame Doctor, I enjoy being given a challenge. Sometimes though, I'm given a challenge that I decide I can't spend 3 hours on one stage for, so I watch some guides for help instead. So when I found out the event HG recently released was the take two, so to speak, for Design of Strife, I was both excited and worried. Vector Breakthrough provides a similar challenge to that of Design of Strife. This time though, each stage had just one difficulty. Of course, the difficulty is off the charts compared to most stages, just like Design of Strife was. But this time, we get to use buffs without penalty. Well, you could use buffs. That is, if you read the directions for the event, and remember after beating the first 3 stages, you can take on some separate stages and unlock to clear them and get buffs during the main stages. I didn't remember this, and I didn't do the extra stages after clearing the 3rd main stage. I instead just kept going. Smooth brain go, more stages, must do now, not come back later. So while I had processed that there were more stages that unlocked, I decided not to move to another screen to do them, and instead just bang my head against a wall for about another 2 hours completing the last 2 stages that had released the day of the event. Only after which did I go to the buff stages and found what I missed out on. I was rather frustrated with myself. But then I realized, wait a second, I just did those stages without buffs. But there were buffs provided which had no negative effects from using. I'm used to HG penalizing us for using buffs, so I've almost always done challenging stages without provided buffs, like in CCs or Pinch Out. But if they weren't penalizing us here, that must mean we really should use the buffs for these stages. Then I had an idea. I've made it this far without buffs. Why stop now? And so my unintended plan was born. Beat Vector Breakthrough without utilizing any of the buffs. So after the day of release for the event, I waited until the final 3 stages unlocked and got to work. Stages 6 and 7 were annoying, of course, and took a bit of time to figure out, but I eventually completed them. Those stages weren't what I was worried about. Recalling my Design of Strife experience, I was mentally preparing myself for what I was expecting to be one of the most frustrating, gruesome stages of the event for me. I did a quick view of the enemies I'd be facing, the map I'd be staring at for probably the next 5 hours, and set up a first attempt team to see what I could manage in my first go. It did not go well. I then spent the next 2 hours refining my team composition, my placement directions, orders and timings, and skill usage and stoppage timings. And eventually, I finally beat Stage 8 without buffs. I had done it. I got my goal. but of course I wasn't recording as I was just playing on my tablet in bed. But I wanted to record my clear and share it with the community, so I did it again on my computer, and this time I was recording. I of course hadn't figured out the strategy perfectly yet, so it took me some time to do it again. Another hour and a half went by, and I cleared the stage for a second time. I checked my recording. Footage looks like crap. I didn't realize I had my recording options on some really poor quality settings. I didn't want to make a bad looking video with the amount of effort I planned on putting in, so I changed my settings, went back into Arknights, and I did it again! This time, only taking me a handful of tries and about 20 minutes to get right. So here we are, the final recording of my clear for Vector Breakthrough, stage VEC-08. As an overview of this event, so we know what it is we're dealing with here and why my clear is the way it is, the boss of this event is one of our resident adorable cat girls, Rosmontis. In stage 8, she will have 2 health bars we'll need to clear and 3 forms to deal with. The first form is her most chill form. She's melee only while performing ranged attacks only during one of her abilities, which is flinging a massive pillar at one of your operators. These pillars, besides the skull crushing damage they inflict, will also have other effects to them. Effect 1. Any operators in the tile with the pillar or adjacent 8 tiles will be permanently stunned while the pillar exists. Effect 2. When attacked, the pillar will deal some true damage to operators in the tile with the pillar or adjacent 8 tiles. Effect 3. An enemy passing through a pillar will pick the pillar up and receive a massive attack and HP buff while holding it. An enemy cannot hold more than 1 pillar at a time. After an enemy holding a pillar is defeated, the pillar will drop where the enemy was and spawn back in at full health even if the pillar had received damage prior to being picked up. Effect 4. If a pillar is defeated, it will leave an aura on the tile it was on and adjacent 8 tiles that increases operators' attack and HP, and reduces the physical and arts damage they receive. Effect 5. The pillar will self-destruct after being on the field for some amount of time, causing an arts damage explosion over a vast area. So if left undefeated, it will blow up and deal a lot of damage. Going back to Rosmontis now, she has an ability that reduces her physical and arts damage taken, but when one of the pillars on the field is defeated, not including being picked up by an enemy, she will lose this reduction for some time. Her ability for launching one of the pillars will target the last operator you've deployed and deal 3 instances of physical damage. If the operator was stunned before impact, the operator will instead be instantly defeated. Another of her abilities is to retrieve all pillars and matrices, aka the auras of the defeated pillars. After her health hits 0 for the first time, she enters into an invulnerable state during which she recovers her full health over time and periodically deals arts damage in a vast area around her every few seconds. Upon fully recovering, she enters Form 2 with a short time of more invulnerability. During Form 2, her ability that allowed the launching of 1 pillar gets upgraded to now launch 2 pillars at your 2 most recently deployed operators, 1 at each, with a couple seconds between each launch. She will now lose some HP with each attack she makes, not including the pillar launches, and will deal a burst of arts damage in a wide area around her. After she reaches 50% HP in this form, she'll have another short time of invulnerability and enters Form 3. In Form 3, she will no longer launch pillars. Instead, she becomes ranged, with a range of about 2 tiles, and gains low altitude hovering, which can technically just be treated as flying, since she cannot be stunned. Her attack increases, attacks will stun her primary target, she will no longer lose her physical and arts damage reduction, and the reduction is further increased. She will lose more HP when attacking, but the amount of arts damage she deals in a wide area is increased, and lastly, she will deal true damage to surrounding operators when attacked. The last thing about the enemies that I want to go over in detail is Rosmontis' drone. This drone has its own list of abilities and effects. It is, first and foremost, a flying unit. The drone can only be attacked and receive damage while inside a matrix, again, one of the auras of a defeated pillar. The drone deals AoE physical damage, Every third attack made by the drone stuns all operators hit. After the drone is defeated, it will leave behind a supply box that will activate when Rosmontis enters her third form. The effect from the supply box is a wide aura effect that provides all operators within a decent reduction to physical and arts damage they take. The other enemies of the final stage don't have much to them that need to be known other than the traffic tower prototype. This guy requires a block count of 4 in order to be blocked. Other than that, everything else about the enemies that show up on the stage isn't of great importance for the clear. Now I'll go over the lineup for the clear and a quick reasoning for each operator regarding why I chose them. The skill masteries and module level may or may not be needed, but were what I managed to clear the stage with, so I'll recommend these specific levels and masteries anyway. We'll want Myrtle Skill 1 Mastery 3 with Module X Level 3. Myrtle is going to be a key DP generator. Next is Bagpipe Skill 2 Mastery 3 with Module X, any level. This module specifically will help get more DP for the first couple enemies that show up. The SP she provides to all vanguards on their deployment is also very helpful. Third is Ines Skill 2 Mastery 3. The root and slow that she provides is particularly good for us, and the DP generation of Skill 2 adds on to Myrtle's generation. The attack speed seal does actually help in some cases of this clear, but does not hugely affect the outcome when doing a solid run. Fourth is Hoshiguma Skill 2 Mastery 3 with Module Y Level 3. This module is key as it provides us the 4 block count needed to block the traffic tower prototype. Fifth is EyjaFjalla Skill 3 Mastery 3 with Module X Level 3. Not only will the 10 res ignore be needed from this module, but the 8% extra attack on top of the 14% for casters is great. The requirement for this buff also changes from deployed to rotten squad, which is a massive change. Sixth is Nymph Skill 2 Mastery 3. This skill is another key element for making this clear possible, so we can stall the enemies long enough to whittle them down. The fear that Skill 2 inflicts can also affect Rosmontis. Usually bosses are immune to a number of crowd control effects, such as stun or frozen, but a fear immunity was not on Rosie's list. This vulnerability is super useful to use. While the effect will get used on Rosie, the fear is actually mostly used on the supporting enemies. Seventh is Typhon Skill 3 Mastery 3 with Module X Level 3. The extra attack and defense ignore from this module is really useful for making the clear easier. Skill 3 is also insane for these stages due to the fact that there are mainly singular enemies, so its focus set on one enemy is really easy to manage. Eighth is Rosa's Skill 3 Mastery 3 with Module X Level 3. Her Skill 3 provides a lengthy duration root on top of really good burst damage output. Since Rosmontis also happened to forget to add roots to her list of immunities, this can provide another way of stalling Rosmontis' advancement through the stage. Ninth on the list is Schwarz Skill 3 Mastery 0 with Module X Level 3. Schwarz is really only here to provide a 13% attack buff to snipers. Her module allows her to apply this buff by only existing in the squad rather than needing to be deployed, so similar to EyjaFjalla. While she can come in handy for a bit of quick damage output or some defense reduction, she doesn't put in much work other than getting deployed for 2 short instances. Due to this, Skill 1 may honestly work better, but I just took Skill 3 anyways and it ended up working out just fine. 10th is Virtuosa Skill 3 Mastery 3. Virtuosa provides more elemental damage support on top of what Nymph does. Virtuosa Slow is also a nice extra which helps in some ways, but may not necessarily be needed to succeed. Finally, the last 2 operators are fast redeploys, preferably Gravel and Project Red. Any operators who can be used for drawing the attention of Rosmontis and stalling enemies multiple times in a row will work as a substitute though. And so, at long last, we come to the clear. So how does the clear actually go together? Well, let's find out. Start by placing Myrtle as soon as possible at the spot directly adjacent to the blue box facing the left. Anytime her skill is available, we're going to be activating it. Next, deploy Typhon as soon as possible on the right square of the center cross facing left towards the shield guys. After that, as soon as possible, deploy Bagpipe equally between Myrtle and Typhon facing towards Myrtle. Activate Typhon's skill as soon as it's ready. Deploy Ines 2 tiles above Typhon facing left and immediately activate her skill. Recall Bagpipe as soon as the third enemy is defeated. Deploy Rosa in the bottom left 2 tiles below the lower left shield guy and face her upwards. Deploy Nymph 2 tiles to the right of Ines facing to the left. Now the complexity starts ramping up. Where the enemy moving past the shield guys on the top side is, deploy a fast redeployer blocking the moving enemy. Make the deployment in such a way that the enemy gets pushed back to the left. Continue stalling the enemy there until the shield guy on the bottom right corner is defeated by Rosa and Typhon. This will be about 3 attack intervals of the enemy. The second that shield guy is defeated, activate Rosa's skill. As soon as Typhon fires at the pillar dropped by the shield guy, and 2 of the skill's projectiles falling towards the pillar come into view, deactivate Typhon's skill. The exact timing of this may not be necessary, but any time saved is buffer time for elsewhere. Then deploy Virtuosa on the left tile of the center cross facing left. Once there's enough DP, deploy Eyja on the bottom tile of the center cross facing to the left. If Ines' skill has been getting used off cooldown, then the Saber enemy that was being stalled should get rooted by Ines right before entering Nymph's range. Once the enemy deroots and enters Nymph's range, start activating Nymph's skill, but only activate the skill when the enemy is not under the fear effect. Fear will need to be applied as much as possible and for as long as possible on the 2 Saber enemies that move up that way. Before focusing on spamming Nymph's skill, make sure Hoshiguma gets deployed to the bottom left tile adjacent to Eyja and face her to the left. Activate Virtuosa's skill as soon as it is ready. At this point, the second Saber enemy should be walking past the shield guys on the top side. As soon as Rosa's skill is ready, activate it. If the Saber enemy gets caught in it, then it should make the stalling job with Nymph a little easier. If not though, it won't be a reset, but some extra focus might have to be spent on Nymph's skill activation to stall both Saber enemies. Right after activating Rosa's skill, place a fast redeploy on the far left tile, in the complete opposite side of the map from the blue box. This will make Rosmontis launch a pillar to that spot, which is far enough out of the way that it will cause minimal damage to the rest of the operators when eventually despawns. If this step is forgotten, the pillar will be launched at Hoshi, which will cause both Eyja and Hoshi to be stunned. I easily forgot this a lot. If this step is forgotten, the enemy block there is able to get by, thus requiring you to reset. Once the second Saber enemy passes a shield guy on the top right, activate Eyja's skill. This will end up with a very quick domino effect of events. The first Saber guy will finally be defeated. The pillar to the bottom left, which was dropped by the shield guy there, should get destroyed. Rosmontis will lose her damage reduction effect, and the pillar she launched will despawn, blowing up Rosa and dealing some damage to Virtuosa. The shield guy to the top right, and the pillar he drops, will be defeated and destroyed. As soon as this happens, activate Typhon's skill, which will cause her to target the last standing shield guy. The sooner her skill is activated, the more shots she'll be able to take on Rosmontis later as she moves through the target field. To stall Rosmontis' drone a bit longer, I deploy Schwarz where Rosa was, facing up. Eventually, the second Saber guy will go down as well. When this happens, retreat Ines. As soon as Rosmontis leaves the area of Typhon's skill, retreat Typhon. If Typhon's skill is just deactivated and Typhon left deployed, then she may not be ready later for redeployment and skill usage when needed. And besides, the drone will defeat Typhon anyways when it eventually goes past her if it does not get affected by a Necrosis Burst effect. Virtuosa should be able to handle the rest of Rosmontis' first form. The drone will eventually defeat Eyja. Eyja can be retreated before then, or she can be left to deal as much damage as she can to Rosmontis. Again, Virtuosa should have the damage, but the timing on Eyja's redeploy isn't hugely affected by this decision. As the drone moves past the right tile of the center cross, deploy a fast redeploy 2 tiles to the left of Nymph. This will aggro the next pillar launch onto the redeployer rather than Hoshi. This pillar is also key for taking out the drone if it didn't happen to be defeated in the bottom left corner earlier. After the pillar is launched, I deploy Schwarz above Nymph facing to the left to get enough damage out on the pillar and drone. I then immediately follow up by deploying the other fast redeploy directly on the pillar to draw aggro the drone away from Nymph for at least one attack. Defeat the pillar as fast as possible so that the drone can also be taken out quickly. When Virtuosa's skill comes back up, activate it again. Once the drone is defeated, recall Nymph and Schwarz. As soon as possible, deploy Rosa on the bottom right tile facing up. deploy Ines on the tile directly left of Myrtle facing left. Deploy Typhon on the top right tile facing down. Deploy a fast redeploy all the way to the left so that if Rosmontis launches a pillar before leaving her first form, it doesn't affect the operators all the way on the right side of the map. Once Rosmontis starts her recovery phase, retreat Virtuosa, Hoshi, and the fast redeploy, and then deploy Aya on the right tile of the center cross facing right. Deploy Nymph right below Typhon facing down. Deploy both fast redeploys as far to the left side of the map as possible, but avoid the bottom left and middle left tiles that are available for deployment. If placed on either or both tiles, the enemy that spawns from the bottom red box will attack them, likely defeating them before Rosmontis can launch her pillars. Once the top enemy walks into Aya's skill range, activate her skill. As Rosmontis passes in front of Aya, activate Rosa's skill. Rosmontis can be crowd controlled by Nymph, Ines, and Rosa to get in some good damage. Nymph's skill should be focused on the enemy moving along the top side though, if possible. As the top enemy walks into Nymph's range, activate Nymph's skill. Nymph will prefer this enemy over Rosie. Continue activating the Nymph skill, allowing for the enemy to be whittled down. If the enemy manages to get below Nymph, just keep activating the skill. As Rosmontis continues to walk through the operator's ranges, try to time it just right so that Typhon can take out Rosmontis with her skill after Rosmontis leaves the vicinity enough that a ranged form won't be able to make an attack. If Rosmontis enters Form 3 while in range to attack, she will likely take out Nymph and Aya. This is fine as long as Typhon remains alive. If she takes out Typhon as well though, then it's a reset. If Aya is not defeated, retreat Aya. Deploy Virtuosa above Ines facing left. As the enemy that was moving along the top gets into Typhon's range, activate Typhon's skill if it was not used on Rosmontis. If used on Rosmontis, deactivate Typhon's skill as soon as Rosie enters her third form. If needed, deploy both fast redeploys again where they were before to aggro any last launch of pillars that Rosmontis can get off before entering Form 3. After Rosmontis has entered Form 3, she loses her ability to launch pillars. This will also activate the supply box the drone dropped. While it is helpful if the drone was defeated in the top right, if defeated in the bottom left, we'll just have to micromanage her damage a bit more on the topside enemy. Activate Rosa's skill to stall the enemy that came from the topside. Activate Virtuosa's skill if a bit more damage is necessary on the topside enemy. Once the topside enemy is defeated, deactivate Typhon's skill if it was used on the topside enemy. The bottom side enemy will move into range to attack Rosa. Try to deploy Schwarz or fast redeploys to draw the enemy's aggro before he can defeat Rosa. It is fine though if Rosa is defeated. Once in Ines' skill range, activate to provide camouflage and a bit of root to stall the enemy a little longer. Deploy Aya on the tile to the right side of the center cross and face her right. Deploy Bagpipe to the left of Ines facing down as soon as Ines' root on the enemy wears off. Redeploy Nymph below Typhon facing down if she was defeated at the start of Rosie's third form. Activate Aya's skill as soon as possible. As soon as the enemy's first life is defeated, activate Typhon's skill. Activating a bit later shouldn't cause issues, but may result in the enemy having a chance to attack more and defeat an operator. Before Rosmontis can enter the tile adjacent to Aya's bottom right side, retreat Aya even if her skill isn't over. We don't want Rosmontis to attack. After the bottom side enemy is defeated, all that is left is Rosmontis. Using Typhon, Nymph, and Virtuosa, finish off Rosmontis. If Rosmontis starts getting too close to the remaining operators, fear her away with Nymph's skill. Redeploy Rosa in the bottom right or the left side of the center cross facing towards Rossi if you need just a bit more damage. And voila! Vector Breakthrough, VEC-08, completed without buffs. It was quite the adventure making this clear and this video. Vector Breakthrough is ending soon after this video is published, so I don't expect it to be, but the video may be helpful as a guide. If not, then maybe at least it was enjoyable or intriguing to watch, even if you're watching from the future. This was my first ever properly edited video. I hope to make more videos in the future, likely of challenging clears, but maybe some other games, even such as Minecraft. In my quest to make more videos, I hope to improve my video editing and quality. Feel free to provide feedback and support in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed, as that'll tell me I'm working the right direction. If not though, don't hesitate to dislike or critique me in the comments too. A direction to go is better to me than no direction at all. Make a lasting impact everyone, and I'll see you all next time.